The decisions you make with your cars, the decisions you make with your housing, that is the discipline that's going to yield huge results. So you have to pay attention. It's not the latte effect. A lot of times it's these car and home buying decisions that's really going to create a lot of opportunity for you.
And what I think is so great about you guys as an audience is a lot of you are financial mutants. And maybe even though you're not a millionaire yet, you're a millionaire in the making. And one thing I think is so interesting, we get a bad rap on this, Brian, but all the time when we talk about buying cars, we always say we love the idea of being able to pay cash for your car. Brian, when you buy an automobile, you pay cash for it outright. You're at the stage of life where you do that. I do the same thing, but it's not always been that way. Yeah. That's not always the way that it was. And so even though a number of our financial mutants have reached a level of success that is how they purchase their cars, we ask the question, hey, financial mutant, when you bought your very first car, when you first started out, were you someone who only paid cash for a car and you never had a car loan? And it was awesome to see that 59% of you, almost 60% of our financial mutants said, hey, at the beginning of my journey, when I got my first car, I had to borrow money. I had to finance. So if you're someone out there right now who can't pay cash for a car just yet, that's okay. You are in good company. A lot of financial mutants have found themselves in that exact same position.
Yeah, I mean, it's that part, because we have a no hypocrisy policy. That's why we understand we want you paying cash for cars, but most by the way, I don't think there's a slide on this, but I was happy to see you in the data. Once again, these aren't inherited silver spoon millionaires. Nope. The majority of our audience, and you guys reflect this, and I love when we get to do the comparison show, we'll make sure this data gets in there, is that you come from also, a lot of you from humble beginnings as well. You're trying to figure this out. And a lot of times your JOB is your first wealth generating process. So it makes sense that to buy the first car, just like I had to do this, just like Bo had to do it, you finance it, even if our preference is to pay cash. But here's the thing about the behavior side that I love. When you look at how people drive their vehicles and use their vehicles, 81% of my financial mutants drive their cars for more than 7 years.
I love that so much. And by the way, this does not say 81% of financial mutants drove their first car for 7 years. This says that financial mutants recognize that when I buy a car, I want to make sure that I drive it for long enough that I'm capitalizing on it being a depreciable asset that I'm not going to allow to work against me in my financial journey.
So that's the part that I think is just so important, is that it's the behavioral part. I mean, there's a reason we call you mutants. It's because you have this society where everybody's pushing you and telling you, hey, consume, be better, show the highlight reel. But yet somehow you guys are just, you're divergent in the fact that the way you see the world, you process it completely different with all this stuff that's just being pumped into your head. You're like, nope, not for me. I'm going to do this a little bit differently. And I love it. And that's why when we create the rules like 23-8, if you, just for those, like I said, I know 40% of our audience, you're coming in and you go, is this a cult? Who are these people? Their data looks like you too can be just like this if you'll start following some of this guidance, because we want you to be able to see outside or see through the craziness that the world is trying to give you. There is a better way to do money. And for 23-8, because a lot of you are probably right now starting out your journey, and that JOB is the most important thing, just like it was for me, just like it was for Bo. You're going to need to put down 20%. If you can't pay cash, which is the preferred, put down 20%. So that way you're at least you have some skin in the game on this. If you don't finance it for longer than 3 years, when you must leverage and use financing as a tool, don't go beyond 3 years, because what this protects is it doesn't allow your eyes, your ego, you thinking about what the rest of society is doing, because they're pumping that into your head all the time. This will keep you grounded, because that amortization is going to really keep that payment. It's going to make it high.
Yeah.
A small sum of money is still going to have a high monthly payment. That way they don't get to play that crazy game they play at the auto dealership where they just say, anybody can afford anything at $200 a month.
What do you want your car payment
Because
we'll be?
What do you want your car payment? Because we'll just push the amortization out to the next 12 years. I mean, I'm joking, but we seem to be going that journey as way we go from 5 to 6 to even beyond at this point. And then we don't want those payments to exceed 8% of your gross income. If you can follow this, it leads you so you don't end up over levered, living a lifestyle that's fake. We want you to live your best life so you can save, invest, but also bedazzle your basic life and live some amazing memories.
I love that. So following 23-8 is a great way to make sure that you make good car and auto decisions. But we know that while an auto is a large financial decision that we make, for most people, it's not the largest. For most people, the largest financial decision you will ever make is in relation to your home, the place where you live, the shelter over your head. And so we wanted to ask, okay, when it comes to our financial mutants, what does their home consumption decision look like? Brian, you've already noted they have very high incomes, and they have very high net worths, and they have very high liquid net worths. They must be living in the lifestyles of the rich and famous, in the cribs type homes. And we were pleased to find out that when we actually asked for the total home values across all of our financial mutants, even in the midst of this recent real estate run-up that we've seen, the median home value for our financial mutants was $381,000.
Now, look, off the top of my head, I don't know what the average is in the United States. We'll have that for that show because we are going to have a comparison show, like I said, to the general public, our financial, our millionaire clients, as well as our financial mutants. But I think we're going to see that this is amazing. Mm-hmm. This is very similar to where probably the median for the country is. Instead of these people who are making incredible decisions, disciplined decisions, they're living like the rest of us. This is truly the millionaire next door. Mm-hmm. I did think it was interesting, and this is something that I know the trolls will have a field day because it does show the disparity in what has been an opportunity and where we are now is just separated, is that median mortgage rates for our financial mutants was 2.75, which is completely separated from the reality of the world right now, post-pandemic. And that's why I think it also shows in the data, we didn't put this on the slide, but 27% of our financial mutants are actually building this incredible journey and actually building all these great net worths with the incomes they have completely outside of owning their own home. They're actually, renting or doing other things, and they're still not letting that keep them from building their great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
Well, and even when you think about financial mutants, mortgage rates were only at 2.75 for a moment. It's not like, we were in a low interest rate environment, but what this shows me is that financial mutants recognize when and how to capitalize on opportunity. So maybe you're someone who's buying a house now or has recently bought a house and you don't have that 2.75% mortgage, but that's not to suggest that there might not be an opportunity in the future for you to refinance and get into that 6%, that 5.5%, maybe even that 5% mortgage. Financial mutants recognize opportunities and they capitalize on them. So if you are someone out there who's thinking about home ownership, or you're one of the 27% who's not quite there yet, we have a rule that you can follow to make sure that you stay inside the lines, even in this wild world in which we live right now. And we call it the 3-5-25 rule. And what that means is that when it comes to your down payment, we don't subscribe to the idea that you have to put 20% down. For first-time home buyers, we think it's okay if you make a down payment as low as 3%. So long as you plan on being in that home for at least 5 years, and when you add up your total housing cost, it does not exceed 25% of your gross income. If you can follow that rule, you will likely get yourself into a home that you can actually afford.
Yeah, once again, we're giving you this guidance. I know it is contrary to what a lot of the things you're seeing out there on social media and put out there, but it's the no hypocrite policy is so that 3% is there's so many people out there telling you in the past. Now, I think people have changed their tune. Mm-hmm. They're now coming closer to where we are because the market has forced it. But we've always said, hey, I looked at myself. I only put down 3 to 5% on my first house. I know you only put down 3 to 5%. Most of our financial advisors here at our wealth management firm had only put down 3 to 5%. Let's start sharing that with the world so that people don't have to already in a hard situation feel like they have to put down 20% just because the talking heads are saying this. We've never had to adjust our rules because we understand that we got to get you on the home ownership train. But that's why the rules also that we give you these checklists and other things so you can make sure you do this right. And that's why I would encourage you, if you are thinking about, hey, how do I know how to do home ownership well? I want to encourage you to go to moneyguy.com/resources. We actually have a calculator for you. We have checklists for you. We're trying to make sure that you get to measure twice, cut once, and these big life decisions that will, kind of hang with you and you either celebrate or you'll just rue the day that you made these decisions. We want to make sure you feel like you're well taken care of and you're doing it with the right decision matrix with both the finances, the math, as well as the mindset.